Disclaimer. This video is a fictional story created for entertainment only. It was developed with the assistance of artificial intelligence and is not based on real events. Nothing shown here is medical advice or safety guide, and the video does not encourage dangerous activities or chemical use. Scientific and medical references mentioned in the narrative are listed in the description.
Robert wakes up in the middle of the night in absolute panic. He sits up in bed, clutching his throat. His eyes are wide, desperate for air, but nothing is getting in. His wife turns on the light and screams in terror. Robert's lips aren't pink. They are a dark, grayish blue, and a pink, frothy foam is starting to trickle from the corner of his mouth. He's rushed to the emergency room. The medical team is confused because Robert is 48 years old, a strong man, and a non-smoker, but the vitals monitor tells a terrifying story. A healthy human being should have an oxygen saturation between 95 and 100%. Anything below 90 is considered a medical emergency. Robert's monitor shows a saturation of only 65%. At this level, his brain and organs are starving. He is suffering from severe hypoxemia. The attending physician looks at the chest x-ray and frowns. Normally, lungs appear black on an x-ray because they are filled with air, but Robert's lungs are completely white. They look like the lungs of someone who drowned in the ocean and stayed submerged for 10 minutes. But Robert didn't go near any water. He is drowning on dry land. The cause of this biological disaster started exactly 12 hours earlier, on a sunny Sunday with a good intention and a spray can. Sunday morning, Robert had a special project, restoring an old cast iron grill, a family heirloom, for his daughter's birthday party. The piece was beautiful, but covered in years of old grease and heavy rust. So, he went to his shelf and grabbed a heavy-duty industrial degreaser, the kind used for brake parts. He sprayed the liquid generously. The grease melted away instantly, satisfied. And without waiting for the chemical to fully evaporate, he turned on his MIG welding machine to fix a crack in the base. This is where the invisible chemistry began. The brake cleaner contained tetrachloroethylene, a chlorinated hydrocarbon. By itself, it is toxic, but stable. However, welding creates intense ultraviolet radiation and extreme heat. As soon as the UV light hit the wet chemical, in the presence of oxygen, a violent decomposition occurred. The tetrachloroethylene broke down and rearranged its molecular structure into phosgene gas. Robert, protected by his welding mask, smelled something curious. It didn't smell like burning. The air had a sweet aroma, reminding him of green corn or freshly cut hay. He looked at his neighbor's yard, thinking they were mowing the lawn. He ignored the warning. He continued welding, inhaling that sweet gas for 20 minutes. After finishing, Robert felt only a slight nausea. He drank a glass of milk, an old welder's myth that does absolutely nothing to neutralize toxins, and went to sleep. He entered what doctors call the lucid interval. Phosgene is not highly water-soluble. This means it doesn't immediately burn the throat or upper airways, which would have made him cough and stop. Instead, it bypasses the body's defenses and travels deep into the alveoli, the microscopic air sacs where oxygen enters the blood. While Robert slept, a slow-motion catastrophe was happening inside the alveoli. The phosgene gas finally reacted with the water in his lung tissue. This process, called hydrolysis, converted the gas into hydrochloric acid. Basically, Robert was creating battery acid deep inside his lungs. First, the acid destroyed the surfactant, the oily, soap-like layer that keeps the air sacs open. Without it, the lungs collapse. Second, it corroded the alveolar membrane. This membrane is the barrier that keeps blood inside the veins and air inside the lungs. Once that barrier dissolved, blood plasma and fluid flooded into the air sacs. This is called non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Robert went to sleep breathing air, but woke up trying to breathe his own fluids. Back in the emergency room, the situation is critical. Doctors intubate Robert, forcing a tube down his throat. They set the ventilator to high PEEP, trying to physically push the fluid out of the alveoli and force oxygen in. But the damage is structural. Because his lungs are filled with fluid, he cannot exhale carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is acidic. As it builds up in his blood, Robert develops severe respiratory acidosis. His blood pH drops to dangerous levels. The human heart relies on a specific pH to function electrically. Robert's heart, poisoned by acid and starved of oxygen, begins to fail. The monitor shows erratic rhythms, ventricular tachycardia, exactly 24 hours after turning on the welding machine. Robert's heart stopped. Despite advanced life support, you cannot reverse the chemical melting of lung tissue. The birthday party happened in mourning. The grill remained in the backyard, a silent reminder. It is important to understand the gravity of what killed Robert. Phosgene gas isn't just an industrial byproduct. In World War I, it was responsible for 85% of all chemical weapon fatalities. It was effective then, for the same reason it was effective against Robert. The element of surprise. Soldiers in the trenches didn't put on their gas masks because the air smelled pleasant, like a bakery or a freshly mowed field. By the time they felt the fluid rising in their lungs, it was already too late. Welding is an incredible skill, but it demands absolute respect for chemistry. Just because a liquid dries does not mean the chemical bonds are gone. Chlorinated solvents can linger in the porous surface of cast iron for hours. When that arc strikes and the heat rises above 500 degrees, you are no longer a welder. You are unknowingly operating a chemical weapon factory in your own garage. The golden rule of today's ICU report is simple. Never use chlorinated solvents to clean metal before heating it. Read the label. If you see words like chlorine, tetrachloroethylene, or methylene chloride, keep that can far away from heat and UV light. Look for the label that says non-chlorinated, or better yet, use acetone. And remember, if you're welding and you suddenly smell freshly cut grass inside a workshop, stop immediately, evacuate. That smell isn't nature. It is the scent of a silent death. I am the narrator for ICU Reports. Stay safe, read your labels, and share this video to save a life.